Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I love that energy. That's great. How many of you were in Nikki's class a minute ago? Wasn't that brilliant? I thought she did an amazing job. That was really, really good. What?
No, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
We were supposed to go when we were late.
Darn. But I took great notes, so you'll be happy if you want to get together. I'll share them with you. They were fantastic. So anyway, we're here today. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Cliff Quicksell. Some of you have heard me speak before. How many of you think that's a made-up name? A few of you? Yeah, I get that all the time. So even my friends think that it's made up sometime. But as you can tell, I'm from the States, as you can tell. You won't hold it against me, that's great. But one of the things I wanted to say is that I've been blessed to go around the world and speak. I've been spoken in over 9-10 countries on this particular subject. Been to China, Australia, New Zealand, here in Canada, all through Europe, the US. And what's interesting is that practitioners in this industry all experience many of the same challenges. And one of the things that I'm very sensitive to as I've traveled is that a lot of times people have said to me, you know, you Americans, you think you've got it all going on, that you know everything. And I want you to know that that's not me. I'm probably the biggest recipient of information when I do a presentation. Afterwards, people will come up and share stories and give me information that helps me be better at my craft. So I just want to let you know that what I'm sharing here with you today is one point of view. We all have them. And so I just want you to be open to the possibilities and try to embrace as much as you can during this presentation, some of which you'll look at and say, you know what, that's not for me. I'm very, very sensitive to issues that are going on in Canada right now in terms of, because we're going to be talking about creative direct marketing and things like that, because I work for an organization in the US called I Promote You. Many of you may have heard of it, but we have a very nice contingency of affiliates here in Canada. And there we are right there. And so I have the opportunity to work with people both in this industry and also in the States. And I understand the challenges. So once again, what I'm sharing with you is just take what you learned today or what you see today. If you can walk out with one nugget of information that'll make you better, that's all we need to do. It's just that one nugget of information. And so, you know, as I said, every time I come to to an organization like this, or I have the opportunity to speak, I learn so much. So I encourage you afterwards, connect with me on Facebook. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's stay connected. I have business cards up here. I promise I won't spray them. But if you want a card, give me your card. If you want to stay connected, I would love to do that. So let's talk about today. What we're going to talk about the beginnings of an elevator speech. We're not going to get into the crux of all that, but understanding the inner network of developing something innovative and creative that sets you apart from the competition. Competition is fierce in this industry. I often say if you can have a trench coat and a car trunk, guess what? You can sell promo products. It's that simple. Because you know what? It doesn't take a lot of real intelligence to flog a product. Anybody can throw a catalog in front of somebody, have access to the same suppliers, have the same products. What do you do to create a difference? You as marketers out there, you have competitors in this room, some friendly, maybe some not so friendly. But you're always looking for a point of differentiation that's going to set you apart from the competition. What makes you unique? Why would I want to buy from you? Why would I want to write a check to your company? What makes you unique and what makes you stand out? So we're going to talk about these plans, these different opportunities that are available to us in this market. So I want to ask the question, have you ever stopped and really asked yourself, what is it that you do? What is it that you do? Interestingly, I have a friend of mine, his name is Jeff Tobe. I know he's speaking here and has spoken in the Canadian market. He said to me, when I went to one of his speaking clinics, he said, Cliff, I want you to take and write down your elevator speech. What is it that you do? What is it that you do with your audiences? And I want you to write it down. Literally, it took me about 35, 40 minutes. I wrote this, what I thought was an amazing 3/4 of a page long detail of what it is I do. And when we went back to the class the next day, he says to me, okay, so let's read it. So everybody read theirs, and he looked at me, he looked at everyone and said, those are brilliant. This is exactly what you do. Now I want you to take your 3/4 of a page and make it 8 words. So if somebody asked you, what do you do, and you had to limit it to 8 words, what would you say? What would be your message? How compelling would it be? Would it be something that someone would want to know more about what it is you do? That it's compelling enough that somebody would want to be engaged with you? You really do need to create that niche difference in your business in order to set yourself apart. Now, one of the things that I've done, and look, I'm not up here touting theory. I was one of you. I still am to a great degree. I started in this business. Nikki said it perfectly. I kind of say it a little bit differently, but the reality is, how many of you are veterans in this industry? I mean, 20 years plus. Okay, you know how the training was 20 years ago. Nikki said it perfectly. You know, you get a stack of catalogs, ABC, PQR, go get them Tiger, people are out there. I personally think ABC, PQR, or CRAP. Honestly, why should anyone dictate what I charge my client for anything that I do? How do we elevate that beyond an ABC PQR code in this business? That's the way I was trained. People all the time, everybody's buying this all the time. Go get them, Tiger. Go talk to your friends and family. It is horrible. And guess what? It's becoming more pervasive in our industry now as they open the proverbial floodgates and let more and more people in. People that have a low business acumen in terms of selling. People that don't know actually how to run a business effectively. And guess what? Those are your competitors. One of the other things that has changed dramatically, and that's not going away, is your buyers are becoming younger. Are they not? And I'm telling you something, if you're not on that bandwagon, folks, that's trouble. I have a son and a daughter, but my son, handsome kid, plays lacrosse. He goes to Catholic University in D.C., Washington, D.C. But that boy cannot frame a sentence. And I'll say to him, Alex, how's it going, buddy? He goes, good. I said, how's Emily? Good. I said, dude, really? Can you like put a sentence together? He goes, okay, Dad, real good. Right? And so he's the kind of guy, he is your buyer. Here's a guy that can text message, play Xbox, and dominoes all at the same time and not say a word. That's your buyer. How do you get through to people like that? How do you touch people like that? And you know what? The internet's great. Texting is great and all that, but sometimes I think that you can reach people in a very creative manner as well. So when we start talking about what it is we do, I don't want to get into the length of that, but I really want you to think about that hard when you walk away. What is it that I do? What makes me different? And that, folks, takes a lot of introspection. You have to really look at yourself and ask those questions. Now, I want to just take you through, these are some U.S. websites. Everybody and their brother has a website. But you know what? There's so many similarities between these websites if you look at it. You know, this one, everybody says #1 in service, fast delivery. By the way, when I consult with folks and I ask them, what makes you different? What do you think the #1 thing people say? What is the unique selling proposition for most people?
Service.
We have great customer service. That's like saying, what's unique about your house? And you say, we have toilets. There's nothing unique about that, folks. You must have that. Customer service nowadays, if you don't have the basics, you're out of business. So what makes you different? And you look at these websites, save 10%, #1 in customer service. Look at this one, 360-degree guarantee, on-time shipping, lowest prices guaranteed. If you find it cheaper, we'll double the difference back. Double the difference back. Here's one that will actually triple the difference back if you can find it cheaper. Counselor Magazine years ago did an article talking about how people in this industry are selling at cost plus 5%. Cost plus, how do you survive on that? Those people, in my opinion, are people that, and I hope I haven't offended anyone, but these are people that I consider hobbyists in this industry. Or people that say, I remember one guy, very well-noted guy in the U.S., he says, you know, Cliff, 10% of something is better than 0% of nothing, or whatever. And I was like, really? That mentality? I just don't get over, I can't get over it. Now, we have an affiliate by the name of Paul Zaffarana. Smart guy. Smart guy. But you know what he does? He focuses on the innovation and creativity of his business. He leads with innovation. He leads with creativity. He does not lead with product. It doesn't mean that he can't sell product. But folks, last year he sold, now a lot of people will say, well, that's not a lot of sales. He closed almost $700,000 in sales at 54% gross profit. That's huge. Now, I have a very good friend that lives in Edmonton. His name is David Betke. I don't know if many of you know him. I'm not going to share his numbers, but they are astronomical margins, well above Paul's. And why? It's because what they think, how they go to market, how clients perceive them. Those are the differences. So you need to take an introspective look, not only with what you do, but look at your competition. What is your competition doing? Are you echoing the same words that your competition is echoing? Are you saying that we have #1 creativity, #1 in customer service, we guarantee the order ships on time? You better, or you won't have the customer very long. So think about this. Here's another one. Okay, when I saw this on the internet, I thought I would absolutely go bonkers. Google promotional product discount codes. And this is the fifth thing that comes up in the search. This joker right here actually posted all of the discount codes on the internet. So somebody asked, how are those discount codes work? So he posted all. Now, if you take a step back to what I said a few minutes ago, your buyers are more savvy, they're younger, they're easy, they just understand how to go to the internet. My son could find this in probably 20 seconds. So who's in control now? Who?
Buyer.
The buyer. I have a buddy of mine that works for PepsiCo. New buyer comes in. He walks into the buyer. You know what the buyer says to him? I heard good things about you. Love to work with you. But you can't sell to me on anything higher than an E discount. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, don't play with me. I know the codes. Why do we relinquish that control to our buyers? Now, you know, the thing, I really admired Nikki's presentation. It really made me think a little bit different. But you know what, folks? I'm all about profitability. I don't care about sales. There's a great quote that I use in all my presentations that I heard from an accountant, believe it or not, that says sales feeds egos and profits feed families. Think about that. Sales feed egos and profits feed families. Letting someone dictate your margin and your profitability and what you do. And don't get this notion for a minute that if you sell above an A discount code, that all of a sudden you're flogging a customer. That's not true. If you come up with something that's innovative, out of the box, creative, different, guess what? You're in control of that price. You can set the bar any way you want. I'll give you an example. When I used to sell high-end jackets, here's a good tip. I found a great laser engraver. I bought a bang of about 100 hangers, nice wooden hangers, and anytime I would go to sell a nice upgraded jacket or sportswear to a client, I would laser engrave their logo on the hanger and take the sample in. And inevitably, clients would say, wow, my logo's on that hanger. And I go, yeah. Is that the way all the jackets are going to come? And my response was, could be. Now, folks, I was buying these hangers and laser engraving them finished at low minimums for around $1.85 to $2. I was selling them for $17, $18 a piece. I had a guy email me when I wrote about that in an article, and some guy called me and goes, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You're stealing from people. I go, dude, really? This is a 50-50 industry. You're only supposed to make 50% profit. And I'm thinking, thank God for people like that. Because you know what? People like that will never, ever, ever be out-of-the-box thinkers. Ever. Because they're so confined to this box that with the structure that we've created, that's all you can charge. You know, it's just nutty. So I want you to think about that and really ingrain this in your head. Because you know what? Your secret discount codes are quite not secret anymore. They have left the barn, the horses out of the barn, so to speak. So where's the industry headed? I often ask the question, where would you like to swim? I want to be in this bowl here, where I have freedom. Freedom to be creative, freedom to be innovative. I want to compete against other creative people. That is the tell. I don't want to create on who can get a white C-handled coffee mug the cheapest. We all can, and guess what? People say to me all the time, yeah, but I have loyal customers. A great study out that I read about 6 years ago that said that when you can make a 20% difference in price, guess what? Loyalty goes out the window. It's hard for people to justify when you're charging 50% margin on a coffee mug and somebody comes in and says, I'll do it for cost plus 5. Then you're getting those calls that we all love. Hey, can you sharpen your pencil a little bit? And I know we all love that, don't we? And we hear it all the time. So how do we break out of that mold? How do we do things a little bit differently? See, I put this little schematic together, and this is what I believe. I believe that in order to achieve higher margins in this business, you have to have a balanced approach. I'm not saying do away with promotional products. No, don't tell people, no, we don't sell products. That's okay. But how do you lead? How do people know you? How do people remember you? Do they remember you as the creative guy or the pencil lady, the balloon man? How do you want to be remembered? So when you're talking about solutions-driven marketing pieces like we're going to show you in a minute, that requires a lot of work, and it's hard. When I've worked with the affiliates that I promote you, one of the things that I find is coming out of the box, I know that they curse me when they hang up the phone. Because I say, stop thinking product all the time. Let's think about innovative ways that we can use the product, the packaging, your creative mind, innovation, unique delivery methods, and get it into the hands of customers where you can create a wow factor. Where those people are passing your information around saying, look at this is outstanding. Now I know for a fact that it can be done. I used to sell tchotchkes. That's how I led. On average, I was doing between 28 and 32% gross margin on average. When I changed my mindset on how I was going to go to work, how I was going to deliver, how I was going to present myself, literally, folks, in about year and a half to 2 years, and by the way, never sold $1 million, don't care to sell $1 million, but my margins were over 61% gross profit at around $950,000, $960,000. So, to me, profitability is more important to sales. In the States, I hear it all the time, these great seminars that come out, how to make $1 million in the promotional products business, how to sell $1 million, be the first one to sell $1 million. That doesn't matter. I know a lot of $1 million producers, and I'm sure you all do too, a lot of $1 million producers working at 20% margin, 18% margin. And just do the math. I used to have a gal that I worked with. She used to call me Cliffy, and that really used to burn me up. Number one, I hated that. And she'd say, Cliffy, your sales were pretty good this year, but I sold more than you this year. I said, Sheila, please stop with this, enough. I sold 1.2 million. I go, yeah, well, what were your margins? Well, I did 28% margin. I said, Sheila, I did $950,000 at 61% gross profit. Do the math. You don't get it, Cliffy. Well, it was not soon after that Cliffy left. Because people like that just don't get it. You know, it's not what you sell, that's good for the ego, look at what I'm doing. But the profitability is how you buy shoes for your kids, you go on vacation, save for the future, take care of your family. That is what's important. That's what's important. And we can make a huge difference in that. So, Establishing yourself as an expert. This ties directly into what Nikki said today as well. We need to ask good questions. When you talk to the suppliers tomorrow, and I love doing this presentation prior to us, going in and talking to suppliers, and the reason being is because you have the ability now to walk that show floor for the first 30 minutes and make a difference in yourself. And I'm telling you, I'm suggesting that you do that. Don't go in there looking for product. Challenge assumptions with suppliers. Can you do this? I asked a supplier once, I said, can you take corrugated boxes and can you laser them? Are you stupid? I said, have you ever tried it? Have you ever tried it? No. So don't tell me I'm stupid if you haven't tried it. He wouldn't do it. I'm going to tell you something, friends. If you put a CO2 laser at a very, very low setting and you run it fast, you can actually burn corrugated. So if you have a customer that's rebranding their company, and you wanted to put it in a box that has the company's logo on it, we're rebranding, and it looks like it's burned into that box, let me tell you something, you can do that, but you have to challenge assumptions. You can't let somebody say, no, it won't work. Now, if you've done it and it doesn't work, guess what? You find another supplier, as far as I'm concerned. But you need to do this, and I'll tell you what, act differently, talking differently, and I like, using the reference of becoming a chef, and I'll explain that to you in a little bit. Some of these marketing pieces you may have seen. This piece right here, I did years ago. This was the prototype. On the outside of the box it said, sometimes a slice of, you open it, inside creativity is all it takes. Another hot creative from Cliff Quicksell. In here we laser engraved the handle with the recipient's name. I didn't do 1,000, I didn't do 500, I did 12 pieces. These were sent out one at a time with a Domino's pizza delivery guy with a medium cheese pizza to the recipient. Now, people look at me and go, that's dumb and silly. That's fine. That's fine. 12 pieces went out, 12 appointments, 7 new customers, $27,000 in business in the first month. And I had some of those customers for years. Innovation, different, willing. Here's the thing. The big thing with this is most people are afraid to do it because they're afraid to fail. I know that you probably have undoubted have hundreds of athletes in Canada that probably had similar quotes. I'm a big fan of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan once said, I fail every single day of my life, and that's what makes me great. Let go of the fear. It's okay to fall down. It's okay to make a mistake. Just learn from that mistake will make a huge difference. As a speaker, I'm constantly fighting for space a lot of times. And here's the thing. People say, well, why would you come up with something like this to market yourself? I do a seminar series called Stimulating Your Creative Juices. So we did an orange juice container. Inside, we had a bounce back reply card. We had a small DVD of me speaking. There was an orange air freshener on the inside of the piece and also an orange pen. So we combined all this, shrink wrap it, and when somebody says, send me information about your speaking, this is what I send out, shrink wrapped with a label on it. Doesn't go into another box, but when it lands on somebody's desk, guess what? It has impact. Now, this is one of the things that many people fail to do. Ask questions. I actually interviewed probably 50 people that hire speakers. What do you not want to get? I'm tired of getting DVDs in the mail, tired of getting CVs in the mail, tired of getting all that stuff. I got stacks of that. Do something innovative. Do something creative. Now, we had a big conference about 3 years ago. I Promote You had a conference, and the CEO of the company, Ross Silverstein, was actually the moderator. And we had 3 panelists, end users there. And Ross asked the question, he says, let me ask you, when it comes to getting in and breaking through the clutter, what works? Emails? And I bet you everybody, about the 3 of them about fell off their chair. Well, what about phone calls? And they said, we're just not returning phone calls. We just won't do it. Well, what about catalogs? He said, we got stacks like this. He says, and one guy says, I'm just looking for somebody to come and throw it in the trash. It's not different. It's not unique. So Ross asked the question. He says, so what would it take to break through the clutter? And a resounding comment came from all 3, do something different. Do something unique to get my attention. You remember what Nikki said about the one guy that sent the birthday cake out to the one woman? Remember that? That's innovative thinking. That's different. And guess what? It doesn't always have to be a promotional product to break through the clutter, folks. This is a piece I did years ago. I was reading a book by a gentleman named Roger Von Oak called A Whack on the Side of the Head. And he asked the question, how do you stimulate, the question is, how do you stimulate creativity? How do you get it moving forward? How do you get some inertia behind it? And he says, I often look at taking two unlike objects, like a cat and a refrigerator, and saying, what parallel can you draw between the two? So I ask you that question. Cat and a refrigerator, what can you draw between the two? What comparisons? They both have milk? Yep, like milk. Anybody else? Dead silence.
They make noise.
They make noise? What else?
They run.
They both run? Yep.
There's fur on them.
They what? There's fur on them? That's good. Now I just want you to see something. Do you understand how the endorphins in this room changed? Just that quick. Now, you were not afraid to say that. Now, some people would go, well, that was silly, but it's true.
I don't want to see the inside of his fridge.
I don't want to see.
The back of the fridge.
The back of the fridge. But the dynamics of doing things creative, that's what he's talking about. Now, my daughter, when she was probably 11, we were sitting out in the yard once, and she said, Dad, let me understand this. People pay you to talk? I said, yeah. She said, I'm going to get a job like that someday, right? So she says, what is this whole thing about creativity? She says, what is it? I said, Kate, it's just looking at something a little bit different that somebody else has done and putting a different spin on it. And she goes, that's unique. So I did that exercise with her about a cat in a refrigerator. Folks, at 11, one little girl came up with about 15 answers in 10 seconds. They both run, they come in different shapes and colors, they both die. They both have a tail. They both have fur. I had one guy in the class, I thought it was great, and sorry to all you cat lovers, he goes, they both sit there on the floor looking stupid doing nothing. Now, that's not me. I'm not a cat lover, but I just thought that was pretty funny. So again, getting those endorphins and change. I used to have brainstorming sessions with my clients like this. Let's think about it. Let's do some mind mapping, and we'll get into that as well. Now, a friend of mine came to me years ago. Her name was Cindy Gibbs. She's one of our affiliates now. Well, I wasn't then at the time working with I Promote You, but what's interesting is she came to me and said, Cliff, I've got this marketing piece, and I want you to look at it. I want you to be brutally honest. I said, okay. Now, her name of her company is called Big Fish Branding. So she brings me this little foam tray that has nail clippers in it, a lanyard, lip balm, a pencil, and she goes, what do you think? I said, it looks like somebody threw up in that tray. I mean, it looks terrible. She goes, really? I said, Cindy, the name of your company is Big Fish Branding. Use the same concept, but come up with something brilliant. So what did she do? Compressed t-shirt that looks like a big sushi roll. Those two fortune cookies, when you crack them open, one of them says, congratulations, you've won a 30-minute free consultation with Big Fish Branding. The two, what looks like chopsticks, are actually pencils. She took it to the next level by actually taking the label and branding the label, talking about consumer value, freshness, creativity, reliability, guarantee, 110%. And then she talked about the company here. Folks, she didn't do 1,000, she did 12 pieces and had over a 90% appointment rate setting with this. This is different. This is unique. This is what sets people apart. Now this transcends, by the way, just doing these things for yourself, but it's important that you do these things for yourself first. Because trying to get someone to say, yeah, you know, you ought to do a creative marketing piece. Well, have you done any? No. Well, then why are you forcing it on me? The more that I did this, the more I put it out in front of my current clients and prospects, the more clients said, I'd like to know more. I'd like to be able to create some of these on my own. This piece, I had a friend, his name is Brendan Mattingly, absolutely loathed promotional merchandise. Told me that they stink, I'm not putting my name on any of that crap, they're horrible, etc. So he was targeting media buyers in the Washington, D.C. area. Typically what he did, his big problem was he would send his portfolio out. It would cost $65 to FedEx that out to the customers. And if he got the appointment, he'd walk in the door and he'd say, there'd be a stack of 25 portfolios sitting there on the desk. I said, well, let's not do that. Let's just create interest. If somebody's seriously interested in you, then you can walk it in. So we created this media piece with the scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz holding a brain in his hand, a plastic brain. And the tagline reads, "Accept no substitutes." We package this inside of a box with a cover letter with raffia in the bottom, and we actually put this coaster in and put the cord or string around the coaster to coincide with the imagery that was in the piece. He sent out 304 pieces, folks, and had an 84% appointment rate setting with this, wound up generating over $120,000 worth of new business with a $4,000 budget. Now, I'm here to tell you that I'm all about ROI, ROO. Anybody familiar with that term, ROO? It means return on objective. If my objective is to get appointments with media buyers, then I want to know, what does that cost me to do that? If I want to get people to sign up or come to a trade show, how important is it? What does it cost for me to bring that buyer into that trade show? Because my marketing efforts have nothing about the final sale. My marketing efforts are to help a customer, to help me initiate a response. If my sales skills stink, it has nothing to do with the marketing. I had a gal once, it was fun, I had a company once that I did all these marketing pieces. We did 10 salespeople, we did 100 of these pieces, each of them got 10 pieces, they mailed them out. I did a follow-up, I said, hey, how would those pieces work? And this one gal says, oh, they're okay. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I sent out 10 pieces, I got 6 appointments. And I'm like, I said, that's a 60% response rate, isn't it? She goes, yeah, but nobody bought anything. Has nothing to do with the marketing. You got in the door. That's the hardest thing. Will we all agree right now sometimes? And when I say get in the door, I don't mean physically walking in the door. Sometimes just getting an appointment on the phone with someone is difficult, right? So how do we do this? So anyway, Brendan, who hated promotional merchandise, we wound up winning a pyramid award, gold pyramid award for this. And to date, he's won probably 6 pyramids. Now he's a believer. If you sat him down right now, oh yeah, promo products and creative marketing, that's the way to go. The rest of that print ad stuff doesn't work anymore. So something to keep in mind. Now, I'm a big fan of creativity, and I just want to ask a question. I have these journals up here, and I just want to ask you, for this one, if I told you that the contents of this journal, and when we move forward here, what you could do with this would change the direction of your business, who in here would want this? Well, maybe. Who wants it?
I want one.
I was going to say.
Who wants it?
Everybody. I want it.
Thank you.
You got it. Now here's the difference, folks. In business, especially sales, congratulations. What's your name?
Sebastian.
Sebastian. In business and especially sales, we're always saying, we want, we want, we want. We always raise our hand. We always want to do something different. We always want to do something unique. But guess what? We rarely get out of our seat. Anybody here ever bungee jump? Okay, you all can appreciate this. I was in New Zealand over Shot River Canyon, standing 400 and some feet above Shot River Canyon. There's a difference. You know where commitment begins? When you're about right here. There's no coming back from that, am I right? That's commitment. You can stand up there and bounce, wet yourself and say, I'm not jumping. But boy, when you go like that, you're gone. That's the thing, getting up out of your seat, doing something different. I encourage you, all of your ideas, archive them. I have this journal. Folks, I have 5 of these filled with concepts and ideas. Now, some of them are just nuggets, nucleus, an idea, just a little thing just to spark a concept. But I write everything down in the journal. And so I can go back if I want to do something innovative. And you can make your own for all I care. But at the end of the day, you have to write it down. I'm an old guy. I forget stuff after about 6 seconds. What? So I'm just playing off of what you did earlier. But at the end of the day, archive it down. So if you look at this campaign right here, this is just a concept or idea. And we have, I use a lot of what they call idioms. in the state, if you go to Google and put United States idioms or American idioms, there are things like step in time saves 9, finding a needle in a haystack. There's another one called the jury is out. It means there's a decision that's been made, etc. So I came up with this concept, sketching it out. We came up with this final piece. This was actually won a gold pyramid at PPAI this year. And what we won, this looks like a little mini briefcase. It's actually a corrugated e-fluted board with some nice high-end graphics. On the outside of the piece, it says the jury is out. Looks like there's a sticky note attached to it. I'm envisioning somebody walking in and handing the judge, the jury is out, or an attorney. And when you open it up, it looks like the inside of a briefcase. The only branding on this piece is the person's business card that Velcro dots on the inside. These right here, just as a gavel, people go, well, I had people say, well, why would people want to buy gavels? Really? Has nothing about buying a gavel. It's about opening the door. The jury is out. Now you be the judge. Give me 15 minutes to state my case, and then you judge for yourself. Or is this a good fit? Opening the door. Inside this little manila folder, we have 3 creative case histories. We marked Exhibit A, B, and C. And folks, we've had outstanding. This was actually targeted. One of my buddies, that guy Paul Zaffarana I talked about, he actually targeted 10 of these to different, to different law firms, but the marketing directors specifically got 6 appointments. He's now working with about 4 or 5 of those people on quotes. So it is something that sets people apart, and it is a little different. Now, there are some things that you don't want to do. I saw this, I thought it was brilliant. Some guy, a marketing director in Germany, that worked for a company that talked about how you need to be very careful about protecting your data. Because if data is, you let it run rampant, you could go crazy. So basically the concept was time is running out. I mean, sometimes I look at this and, he sent 40 of these to different companies in Germany. They had to evacuate 3 buildings. Now, this is the crazy thing. When they interviewed him and said to him, "What the hell were you thinking?" He said, "I didn't know people were going to take it that way." Really? So just because you have a degree, your client has a degree as a marketing director, guess what? Doesn't necessarily mean that it really works. So you know what? Some things I often say, white powder falling out of envelopes, mailing tubes that look like firecrackers, things that go kaboom when you open them, not a good idea nowadays. You can make a point without going crazy. So that's just stare at that for a minute. Time, only 1 second left. Okay, so here's the other thing. Look deeper. And when I sit there and I look at this, this was from a magazine called B2B Online. I would definitely, if I were you, subscribe to it. It will give you some, and it's free. It's an online magazine, btobonline.com. It is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I looked at this, some marketing agency, and look, I'll tell you something, I don't hold the holy grail on creative ideas. Everybody in here is creative. Picasso, and look, what we do is like art, the way I look at it. This is like art. Picasso has once said that everybody is born an artist. The challenge is remaining an artist when you become an adult. And we fear that challenge. We fear that opportunity. They say that innovation and creativity, when you look at it, from birth to age 6, innovation and creativity is actually 94% of the ideas that between birth and 6 kids come up with are innovative and different and unique. But by the time you get to 40, that drops to 4%. It really goes in line with the statistics that Nikki was saying earlier today. So here's a company right here, and I just know what happened. Advertising agency decided to come up with this. This is about, Google did this thing, Microsoft did this years ago, about getting more, being able to capture web hits or analytics with your web hits. So they used an old-fashioned paddle ball. They came up with this guy who was like the icon for this, printed his face on the front of the paddle ball, and had some description, created some packaging, bulked it all together. I almost guarantee, don't know if for a fact, but I almost guarantee that some ad agency called 4 or 5 distributors and beat them to death on price for paddle balls. Guaranteed. And then they turn around and mark up this whole package to some. There was 20,000 of these pieces done. Now I just ask, step back and look at my peers in this room. How many of you would have liked that order? The whole thing. Not just the paddle ball, but the whole thing. Yeah. You have the capacity and the ability to deliver this level of service to your customers and for yourself if you choose to do it. Here's another one. Paul Zaffarana. Boy Scouts of America call him up. I'd like you to do our annual report. 8.5 by 11, typical stuff in the U.S. Would you do the annual report? He says, well, would you be interested in something else? He goes, yeah, we would like to send a promotional piece out with it. So rather than just suggesting a piece and printing the brochure, he said, how can we do this a little bit differently? So what they did is they created the annual report in a smaller version, did a custom sleeping bag, slipped that in there, created this box to make it look like a pup tent, and everything with this flashlight all seated neatly, as you can see up there, inside the box. Brilliant idea. And guess what? Took his sale, I guarantee you, it quadrupled the sale. Quadrupled the sale and the potential. And you know what? Therein lies the opportunity. I did this seminar at PPAI last week, and we talked about packaging. And I know that there are some issues here in Canada about that. I understand. And I'm tell you right now, I'm going to find out tomorrow, because I'm dealing with a mail house, somebody from Canadian Post, and I'm going to sort stuff out here, and I'm going to figure out how we can do this very, very effectively. But one of my colleagues called me up, and she said, Cliff, I took this idea about the packaging, and the first customer we went to when we got back, we suggested it. It increased my margins 5-fold. 5 times what I would have normally made, I increased my margins by just asking a simple question: how would you like that packaged? This is another marketing piece that we did. You know, the front of the box says, is your marketing just coasting? Inside, it's a little leather coaster embossed here. This card, 2-sided, really just talks about the benefits of what we bring to the table. Very unique, very easy, very inexpensive. Folks, working with suppliers now, technology has changed dramatically in this industry. Years ago, when I first started, you bought a custom hat. Many of you veterans will attest to this. You have to do a half of a container load, 20,000 pieces to get a normal good price. And it would take you upwards of 60 to 90 to 100 days to get those caps. Now you can get the same cap, 144 pieces, turned in 3 weeks, almost at the same price. Technology has actually driven so much in our industry today. It's just phenomenal. So my point to all this is the reality is you don't have to do thousands of these packages. Talk with customers, vendors. Network with them properly. Get them to understand what it is you're doing. Heck, I do the piece right now that is a can with a puzzle inside of it, right? No setup charge. $1.25 a piece at 25-piece minimums. 4-color process on the outside, 4-color process puzzle on the inside, all logoed, no setup. That's not in their catalog. I had to negotiate the deal with the vendor, but you have to ask the questions. We did another piece just to show you. This is targeted specifically at marketing directors. We have 6 creative case histories on the inside. On the outside of the box that you don't see here, it says, a new vision for creative marketing. When you open it up and you read it, you go through the little viewfinder, very retro, it actually has all these case histories, and those case histories coincide with the screen number and also the piece. Then we do basically an outline of what the campaign was about, the execution and strategy, and what the results were. The last frame in that says, now that you've seen our vision, let us help you with yours. Very, very unique piece. I've had customers that have said, well, how can I use this with my clients? Just think for a minute. How could you do that? Could take an auto dealer, high-end auto dealer, Audi, Lexus, Mercedes. They have people that are upping their leases. So if you want to go out, instead of being reactive, be proactive. Maybe you send the disc out that has just the disc in the mail. that says if you'd like to know more about the new edition that's coming out for Mercedes, send us an email, drop us a line. We'll send you the viewfinder so that you can look at it. Or maybe you just send the viewfinder without the disc. However you want to do it. There's ways that you can do that. So each of those windows could be a new feature of the new car, the new vehicle. Stop in and test drive today. You could send the whole thing out. You could go do this with resorts. You have convention bureaus, for instance, that have hotels all over. Why don't you go out and market to 7 hotels? Let's say this is a $5,000 piece. You have 7 windows in there. Divide $5,000, by the way, only cost you, let's say it'll cost you 2. I'm all about the margin. So you go in and you say to the 7 people, you divide 7 into the $5,000. That's what it's going to cost each property to get that created. The convention bureau can now mail, it doesn't cost them a cent now, just to mail it out to prospective companies that are going to hold functions, let's say, in their territory. Folks, you can do remarkable things if you just think outside of the catalog. Think outside of the catalog. You can create brilliance. This is the piece I was telling you about right here. Very simple. This right here, literally, $1.25 a piece at 25-piece minimums. But you have to negotiate the deal. What do all these programs have in common? They're risky. They are innovative. They are creative. They're different. They're not, this is what I love, not in a catalog. And when I had the last 6 or 7 years, I used to love this. People would say, just send me a catalog. What does that really mean?
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. I'm not interested in talking to you. Send me a catalog. And I would say, no. I'll send you a media piece, I'll send you something that talks about my company, but I'm not sending you another catalog. It makes a difference. We're not subject like those ABC, PQR codes that we've been riddled with for years. You, this is the thing, you determine the profitability of your business. You are now in control. My dad, God rest his soul, was my dad, true story, had a plaque on his wall that had a donkey's rear end on it. Seriously, just the donkey's rear end. And it said, Pain in the Ass Buyer of the Year Award. My dad was proud to hang that on the wall. But he would work salespeople like nobody's business. I mean, work them. I remember going into his office one day and he said, watch this. Guy walks in, sharp guy, knew his stuff inside and out. And he went through his spiel and my dad says, okay, let's get down to price. And the guy gave him the price, and my father, anybody here watch Sanford and Son ever? You know how he used to grab his chest like that was my father. And I'm like, what the, really? And the guy says, you got to do better than that. You got to do better than that. So the guy just, instead of asking, so what about my presentation did I miss? He was like, hold on, I can do 20% better. My father says, that sounds better. Okay, I'll let you know tomorrow. The guy walks out. As soon as he walks out the door, my dad says, he was already 20% cheaper with the first price than my lowest bid. That day I heard my dad say that, I said, I am done discounting anything to anybody. Now, he was a master at working people, but at the end of the day, I'm not doing that. Don't get relegated into that. Create that point of differentiation. Now, I talked about this earlier about becoming the chef. Years ago, I was a chef. Loved to cook, still love to cook. I think that's really the only reason my wife married me. But there's a difference here. You can be the supermarket, you can be a burger flipper out in the garage, or you can be a top at what you do. You can be the chef in this industry. I encourage you when you walk the show floor tomorrow, although it may sound crazy, look at it like you're a chef. How can I take that and that and that packaging, and how do I meld that together to create something that's brilliant? Each of you have the capacity to do this, but you just have to change your mindset a little bit. Final steps next. We're going to answer some questions if you have. The thing is, you got to do something, folks. You got to do something today to create that differentiation. If you need any help, I'm offering my card. I'm not going to spray it. If you want to call me on the phone, email me. I'm glad to connect with you. Let's talk. I'm glad to do what I can to help you out. Develop a plan. Be consistent. Be deliberate with it. Get this. I've had people that have ordered, folks at I Promote You that have ordered these pieces from us, and they've sat on the shelf for 3 months. I'm like, it's not doing you any good there. One guy says, so our executive VP says, Rick, you know, I've got these things. What should I do? He goes, well, you got that hospital account. Why don't you just take one in and show it to him? He goes into the hospital account and he says, I just want to show you some of the new stuff that we're creating and wanted to get your opinion on it. The woman says, I had no idea you could do this kind of thing. He goes, yeah. She goes, how much are they? He goes, well, it depends on the quantity, and we'd have to rework some artwork and whatnot. She goes, we're looking at creating something where we can get a donor gift. We can get donors to respond to us, and something like that would be brilliant. Can you get me a price on that? I want $10,000. And they netted, they came into the client at about $13 a piece. If you don't show it, if you don't expose your customers to it, they'll never know. I often say, you can tell people day in and day out, I'm innovative, I'm different, I'm creative. But folks, if you don't demonstrate that difference, guess what? People will not know. I say, imagine you have a spouse and you tell your spouse all the time, I love you, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're handsome, whatever the case may be, but you never really engage them. You never demonstrate that affection. You never put your arm around them or give them a kiss or shake, rub their back or something. That demonstration proves what you're saying. The same thing holds true here. If you want to be different and be perceived different, then do something different. Do something unique. It really does make a difference. Make sure that you're persistent. You journalize all your ideas and nuggets. Make it habitual. This is important. Have a plan and act on that plan. Lastly, how many of you like what you do? Okay, but keep your hands up, because those of you who are not, my next question, how many of you are passionate about what you do? Okay, that is infectious. I'm talking about with marketing. So passion is infectious, folks. People want to be associated with people that are passionate about what they do. I want to take some questions after this, but I do want to share one quick story as a final. I love this. I have a ritual. Last year, well, a couple years ago, I flew about 205 days speaking and doing all the stuff that I do. And I have a ritual. I get on the plane and I try to fall asleep. Aisle seat, and so I don't want anybody bothering me. I don't want anybody sitting next to me. I just want to go to sleep. So I'm sitting there, and I see this little boy walk up. He wasn't Asian, but the little boy walked up, and he was with his parents, and he sat the aisle across from me kind of diagonally. And as I'm dozing off, I hear this. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to take off. You please buckle your seat belts. I've heard that a million times. We all heard if we've flown. Then I hear, so Jim, how's the family? Kids? And I'm like, what the? And then all of a sudden I hear, ladies and gentlemen, we're backing up now, and I feel the plane jerk, and I'm half out of it, right? And then I hear, oh my God, we're going to hit something. And I sit up, and it's this kid. It's this kid doing the squawk. I look over at him. He's now has his feet like he's working the Alderon in the back. He's looking out the window. He's tapping the back of the seat like he's tapping the dials. He's checking around, and he looks at me, he winks. I'm like, so as we taxi out, this kid has his hand on what is the stick. And as we take off, he pulls back like that. That plane comes up off the ground. I'm wigging out at this point, right? We go left, he goes left. We bank right, he banks right. We get into turbulence. He's like, he's really exaggerating it, right? And he looks at me, he goes, don't worry, we're going to be fine. Right? For 45 minutes, he does this. From Las Vegas to Charles Lindbergh Field in San Diego, he landed that plane perfectly. And as he stood up, I know I looked like I was on a Darvon drip. I'm like, still can't believe this for 45 minutes nonstop. He says to me, I said to him, you know, son, I bet you'd like to be a pilot someday, wouldn't you? He goes, no, sir, I'm going to be. I go, really? How old are you? He says, 7. I go, you're really going to be? I said, why are you going to be a pilot? He goes, because I have a passion for flying. At 7. And I thought to myself, as I deliver presentations, as I spend time with my colleagues, my friends, my family, If I can deliver that level of passion in everything that I do, how infectious could that be? If I touch one of you today in a way that's going to be positive for you to grow your business, then folks, I've succeeded. And I just want to let you know, I've always been told, don't thank people for coming. I'm telling you what, I am so grateful for being here today. I love coming to Canada. I love presenting here because I find that you all are some of the most hospitable, friendly people that I have ever met. So thank you for allowing me to be here today. So thanks so much. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
There was a good promotional item that one of my boss's wife saw when she went skiing in Whitefish, and it said, as you say, we're so hospitable. It was a little can, and it said, "Spray on Canadian." So you spray it on, and be more polite.
I tell you, that's brilliant. You know what? And I think what happens is people are so afraid to take risks. They're so afraid that some people would look at that and go, "That's stupid." Now, look, I got remarried. All right, my first wife, everything that I did was stupid. That's why I started journalizing everything, because everything she told me was dumb, wound up being an award-winning campaign. I don't know if it's because she just hated me or what the deal was, but archive that stuff down. Don't let people tell you that it's dumb, it's stupid, it's crazy. Go for it, folks. I'm telling you what, it'll make a huge difference. So you should buy some of that and use it.
I would like to find it.
Go online. I guarantee you'll find Spray on Canada. I think it's brilliant. We can't say that. What do you say? Spray on the U.S.? Just not much there. Yes, ma'am.
What's your perspective on web marketing?
Web marketing.
Yeah, website, really interacting.
I think the whole idea about web marketing, I think it's important, but I think it all has to be about engagement. I have a guy that I'm working with that's rebuilding a website for me, and he actually told me that websites today are kind of passé, because the buyers are becoming younger and they're more interested in the social media aspect, like Pinterest and LinkedIn and things like that. I've gotten so many connections off of my social media over everything that I've ever done on a website. And in fact, the suggestion to me was to create a blog site and just blog about relevant information about what's going to help your customer. And if you do a website, I would encourage you try not to be traditional like all the ones that we saw before. Do something a little bit different. Video is huge at this point. Video is absolutely huge. I write for a magazine in the States called ID Marketing, and actually all of their editorial now, I would say 60% of it's all gone to video. So the writers now are not actually writing script. They're actually just performing a video and submitting that as an article. It's pretty amazing. And you know what, folks? It's easy. So, by the way, if anybody wants to do a testimonial in here, I'd be happy to take it. If you like the class, it'd be great. But I have bought a little teeny microphone. It's a high condenser mic that I take to all the shows, and I plug it into my iPhone, and I do interviews with it, and I can instantly upload them to my social media. It's amazing to keep people connected. So if you're at an event, let's say if you want to build a library of content, for instance, for your website, if you had one of these and said to one of your vendors, "Hey, look, you have this moisture wicking fabric. Can you describe that for me in a little short video?" And have them describe it and talk about it. You've got a great video that you can push out to your clients to make it worthwhile. And by the way, that condenser mic was about $51. Really cheap. Really cheap. So if you want to see it, I have one back here. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I was just going to, does it only work for an iPhone, or will it work for an Android?
I think it might. I don't know that for a fact. It's called something. I can't remember right now, but I think it'll work for both. I'm not certain. Did you have a question, sir? Yep.
It was me.
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of companies that are very large, and they do specific things during different times of the years, like trade shows, training sessions, things like that. Probably 90% because it's several buyers from different areas for different things in a large company. their primary focus is on budget. Is there a way, well, obviously, there would be a way that creating something could get them to buy above their budget, right?
Well, here's the thing. The bottom line is it's the results. That's the way I look at it. And this is, people often ask me, how do you establish budgets with customers? So let's assume that we talk about the gentleman that's going to a trade show, okay? Imagine this. Would say to people, he would say, our budget is X. Well, what are you trying to accomplish at the show? Well, we have a new product that we're introducing. Okay, fair enough. So if I can get the people to come into your booth that have the ability to buy it, have a desire to buy it, can afford to buy it, in other words, a qualified buyer, how much, if I had a line of people standing right here at your booth and I was the ticket taker, how much would you pay me for each of those leads that had the ability, the desire, and the wherewithal to buy that product, or at least have a conversation with you? And oftentimes I've had people say, well, heck, I'd pay $100 for a lead like that. Now, if you're selling, $4 glasses, doesn't work. But if you're selling, a $100,000 scissor lift, people are willing to spend the money. So that's how I get to that. Because here's the thing. Most people buy for a trade show for the masses. Don't buy for the masses. Buy to bring people there that you want to talk to. If you want the scoopers to come by and just take tchotchkes off the thing, buy some mints and help yourself.
I got them thinking that way. We buy 3 different levels. Just the one giveaway anybody grabs, just so that they got traffic at the booth. Kind of a medium gift that they're trying to introduce somebody new, and then a little higher end gift for the clients that they already have. It's like a thank you.
That's a great way of doing it as well. But I encourage you that if you work hard at this, you'll find that most of your clients will not want to do the cheap giveaway for everybody. They're going to really want, when you can demonstrate to them that you spent X and this is what your return is, I'm telling you, you're going to hit a home run with customers like that. You're going to hit a home run with them. Happens to me every single time that I've done it. But we should talk. I'm not spraying my card though. Anybody else? Okay, this has been great. Thank you very much. I'll be around for the next 3 days. I'm going to be on the show floor and meeting with some folks. So if you want to stop me, I'm glad to talk to you. But if you can, let's exchange business cards because I really like to stay in touch with you. I would say to you, if you give me your business card and you don't want me to email you, which is fine, just put on the back, just put no EM, and I promise you I won't send you an email. But I don't want to inundate you, but I'd love to keep you connected and things like that. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you. Thanks.